On today's show,
the Grizzlies knock off the Blazers and now earn a date with the well-rested Warriors.
We'll make our predictions for that series and whether the Hawks will finish the Nets in 6.
And we've got another playoff edition of the Meme Team.
It's Thursday, April 30th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World! Welcome to the starters. Whether you're joining us live online, you're listening to the podcast, catching us on NBA TV, very, very happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
Hey, where you been all my life?
To my right, starters blog editor Trey Kirby.
Hey-o.
Hey-ho! And finally, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lee. All right, on tonight's show, we have another playoff edition of the Meme Team. But first, we have a second-round series. We know who the Grizzlies are going to be playing, and they're playing the Warriors. They took care of business last night in the grindhouse. Marc Gasol, 26 points, 14 boards. They held off the Blazers. A valiant effort from those banged-up Blazers. Got the 99-93 victory. So they do go to the Western Conference semis for the third time in 5 years, closing out that series in 5. And there's a look at the Western Conference playoff bracket. Warriors and Grizz, they will get us going on Sunday afternoon. Rockets still waiting to find out whether they're playing the Spurs or the Clips. So let's get to this Grizzlies-Warriors matchup. You see the regular season battle, 3 games. Warriors taking 2 of them. Shot well from 3, not a surprise. And the Grizzlies, not a surprise, doing a lot of their work in the paint. That's why this is an interesting series, just how the difference in how these two teams play basketball. Our predictions, well, we all like the Dubs. We all like the Warriors. This side of the table, Trey and I saying it's going to take 6 games. Tass and Lee think it'll be a little bit shorter in 5.
I'm pretty confident in the Golden State Warriors for some strange reason. These two teams were the best teams in the Western Conference for much of the year until the Grizzlies sort of dropped off. And the Grizzlies were handling the Blazers offensively. They could score at will. I think that's going to change. You mentioned the style of play. They're going to go down low. They're going to bang with Zach and Marc Gasol, and that's what's going to happen. But when you have 2 guys and Draymond Green and Andrew Bogut that can guard those guys straight up, that's going to limit the Grizzlies' spacing, in my opinion. I think out there on the three-point line, they're not going to have a lot of opportunities, a lot of open shots, and they're going to be able to hang with Z-Bo and Andrew Bogut.
You don't think there's going to be very many double teams of Gasol and Randolph?
I think they're going to try at first to guard them straight up.
Sure.
And it's going to be dependent on the Grizzlies shooting from the outside if they get space to make that happen. And I'm just not that confident in all those guys to make shots, and we'll get to them. But I think they have the advantage just the way that they can guard them because they can guard them straight up.
In the battle of the bigs, Z-Bo, Marc Gasol versus sort of Bogut and Draymond Green. Where do you lean?
It's a very good matchup. If everyone's on their game, it'd be very, very close. But I do go again towards the Golden State Warriors. The only time the Grizzlies beat the Warriors this year, Bogut didn't play. Festus has really started. I think that does make a difference. I mean, Zach Randolph, we know he can score against any guys, whether they're big or small. But I think Draymond Green's just a little bit stronger. He's got a little bit lower center of gravity.
You think Draymond Green is stronger than Zach Randolph?
Well, I think he can hold him, yeah.
I think Zach Randolph is going to push him around, and I think that is the Grizzlies' one advantage in this series is that he is a lot stronger and a lot scrappier than Draymond Green is, just because he's a guy that's played in the post for his entire career, and Draymond Green is still learning the intricacies of post defense. I think Zach's going to be a tough matchup.
He's had a week off, though, to get ready for this, and just
probably hitting the weights, bumping up.
Well, yeah, I mean, he only has to concentrate. He only really has to concentrate on that one side of the floor. That's his job, really, and just to hit threes on the other end of the floor while their guards, cause havoc at the other end. I think it will be a good matchup for them because Zach and Gasol have to score a lot for them to win.
I think Draymond will like the physicality of it. I think he'll want to throw his body up against it. I mean, there's no doubt Zach's fantastic with his footwork and he can really score from underneath the hoop and do all that. But I think Draymond's going to be right up for this. He knows that this is a key matchup for them.
That's the real question. How many games does it take until Draymond Green and Zach Randolph need to be separated by their teammates and the referees? Yeah, I mean, it's going to get very, very physical very, very quickly. A big thing with this series, too, of course, is the status of Mike Conley, the Grizzlies point guard. We saw him last night there at the game between the Blazers. I mean, his face, let's be honest, looked like a mess. I mean, the swelling, the bruising after having the surgery. He didn't really give a definite timetable for his return, though he indicated he thought he was going to be back at some point this series. I think maybe once the swelling goes down, they'll get a mask on him and he'd give it a go. But it's interesting. Does he come for game 2? Does he come only when they go back to Memphis for game 3? He's obviously very important to this series, at least for the Grizzlies' chances.
The perimeter players in general are really, really important for the Grizzlies. So who's going to step up in Conley's absence? Obviously, Nick Kalathis, Beno Udrih did a very good job against the Blazers, and they scored at will, as I mentioned, but we're talking about a Blazers defense. There's a huge difference between the Blazers defense and the way the Warriors play D and how they scramble all over the place.
He gets them into their sets all the time, Mike Conley. He's so smart. He knows when to penetrate. He knows when to step out, knock down the shot. But he just gets everyone involved, and that's, I think, what's so important to him and for the Memphis Grizzlies.
It's the same thing defensively, too, because Mike Conley is kind of their leader at the point of attack. He's sending guys the right way at the screens up top, and I think it's going to be a rude awakening for the Grizzlies guards having to deal with Curry and Thompson. It's kind of like a hyper version of Damian Lillard and Aflalo or whoever the Blazers were going to start.
I will say this. I think the schedule of this series helps the Grizzlies and Conley's return because it's a weird little thing. They're going to, like I said, game 1 goes on Sunday, game 2 on Tuesday in Golden State, and then they don't play game 3 until Saturday.
Yeah, 3 days off.
3 entire days off. Again, helping the chances. The longer this thing takes, the more likelihood that he gets back in there. So schedule helping them out in theory.
Yeah, and the matchup of the guards, Curry and Clay, who do they really have to guard without Conley out there? I think Courtney Lee is a huge X factor in this series. He has to go off. He's the most consistent wing shooting the basketball out there for the Grizzlies, more so than Jeff Green. I think we're going to get a huge Vince Carter game, and he pulled out the dunk against Portland in Game 5, but this man is their only real consistent outside threat, hitting 55% in the first series, but can that continue? These guys just don't shoot the 3-ball. I mean, by far the lowest amount of attempts in the playoffs. Without Mike Conley, I'm just sort of concerned, who do Steph and Clay really have to guard out on that perimeter? I think their offense is just going to be so much better because they don't really have a huge option or battle to have on their defensive side of the court.
That's what's crazy about the way they play. The Grizzlies are averaging 12 three-point attempts throughout the postseason against the Blazers. The Warriors in their 4 games against Pelicans averaged something like 31.
Yeah,
and plus 30. I mean, it's so different how they play.
Courtney Lee did have a good series, but a lot of those shots were open, and I think that's more indicative of the defense of Portland rather than what you're going to face against the Golden State Warriors. They know that he's a threat. They're going to be out there covering him. It's just such a different matchup for the Grizzlies, and that's why I have Golden State winning in 5. I think there's just too much firepower, too much defensive pressure they can put on the Grizzlies. I don't think the Grizzlies can overcome that.
Klay Thompson, in the regular season matchup, played very well, too, against the Grizzlies. I mean, he got his look, scored 22, 28, and then he had the 42-point game, shot 62% overall, and 75% from 3. 18 of 24 in the 3 games. I mean, I don't think he's going to keep that up there in the postseason.
He might.
But they are a nightmare, especially if Conley isn't playing at least for the first couple of games.
Yeah, and like Tass is saying, somebody on the Grizzlies perimeter has to do something to just kind of, you're not going to be able to match Curry and Thompson scoring, but at least they have to mitigate it. It's got to be a little Jeff Green doing something, a little Courtney Lee doing something. Kind of every replacement on the Grizzlies, every sort of random wing player has to, score 6 points a game, and hopefully it adds up to enough.
So how do you see this going then? You see the Warriors taking care of business at home, as they have all season long, and the Grizzlies just getting one in the grindhouse. Simple as that. A game 3, maybe when a Conley returns type of thing.
Well,
correct.
That's the way I see it. I think those first 2 games.
Because they have great home court advantage too.
They
as
do,
great as the Warriors are.
But again, like talking about Mike Conley, if he does come back, even with a mask on, I think that injury is so severe that I don't know how much he's going to be able to play. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Titanium plates and screws in his face right now.
That's how well he's going to play, obviously. It's going to be different playing with a mask.
Totally. And again, the Golden State Warriors have been so impressive. They're rested, they're fresh, they've got no real injury concerns. They do everything right. I just really can't see them fumbling around this series.
Yeah, the Grizzlies' strength obviously inside. When you have a really good matchup with Bogut and Draymond Green, guys are going to have to step up on the outside. And you mentioned the only time that the Grizzlies beat the Warriors this year, Bogey wasn't in the lineup. The Warriors are 62-9 when Andrew Bogut plays this year. It's a ridiculous number just because they're that good. And, we kind of didn't know how to gauge Houston versus Dallas. I think it's sort of the same with Memphis versus Portland.
Yeah.
I mean, Memphis playing well, but they're not going to be able to score the way they did against the Blazers. It's just going to be so different.
Yeah, but you have to give them credit for having a really, really good defense. The Grizzlies are going to make it really ugly, and things are going to get mucked up, and it's going to be interesting to see the Warriors kind of in that situation in the playoffs in a bigger scenario than they've ever been in before, having to battle through tough games, and the Grizzlies are kind of used to that sort of thing. That's the way they've always played. It'll be neat to see if the Warriors actually can kind of get their shots going when things aren't falling their way.
I'm always intrigued, too, by a team that's been off for a while. I mean, they swept the Pelicans. They've had a little bit of a rest here. I mean,
7 full days before Game 1.
That's a long time. That could be great. I mean, guys rest up and you can focus.
Rest.
But yeah, you wonder in Game 1 if you are a little rusty.
If you're the team that's rested, you say rest is better. If you're the team that's still playing, say no, we don't want to get rusty. So
I just like, because it's going to be such a scrappy battle, I think rest is important, right? Because those guys want to bang, and that's what's going to happen.
It's good. I can't wait for this series. I think it's going to be interesting. So we've got Trey 9-6, you guys in 5. Let's hear what you guys think on Twitter. Hashtag the starters with your predictions. Got to take a break. When we come back, the Hawks hold down the fortress, and Lee ate some pasta. Welcome back to the starters. Game 5 between the Nets and the Hawks. Down at the fortress there. Al Horford, Jeff Teague scored 20 points apiece. The top-seeded Hawks, they bounce back. They take the 3-2 lead in the series. Brooklyn hosts Game 6 on Friday night. But the real story from this game, Lee Ellis took 30 minutes to order pasta. Missed the entire second quarter, people.
Lee, a bow tie?
Yeah, it is a bow tie pasta. Little chicken, little artichoke, Alfredo sauce, and broccoli. It was quite good.
When you go to a game, man, have a burger. Have a hot dog. Live a little.
No one man should have all that pasta.
My body's a temple.
That took a long time for you to
It did take a little bit too long, but it was worth it.
Well, let's get to the game. A great game from the Hawks. You know, they started hot. Then the Nets got back into it thanks to really Allen Anderson and Jarrett Jack. But in the end, Al Horford and Jeff Teague, they closed the deal in Game 5.
Yeah, it felt like the Hawks were a little nervous late, and then the original G, Al Horford, the longest-serving member of this team, just calmed everybody down and did what he had to do, especially with Paul Millsap not really looking like Paul Millsap during this series. Al Horford has to be himself. They've got to get something out of that 4-5. And they haven't really, and this was Al Horford's best game, you know, that 20-point, for the first time getting up to 20 points. Took the most shots that he's taken all series. I worry about Paul Millsap big time, just the way he's looked. He doesn't look right, so Al Horford has to be big for this team if they're going to do anything in the second round.
Yeah, those pair of, 19, 20-foot jumpers there late, and both of them set up by Jeff Teague, who was just as instrumental, I think, down the stretch in this game. Those two guys, those two Hawks, DeMarre Carroll was great in it, especially in the first half, but those two guys took over the game late. Either Horford's jumpers or Teague hitting that giant three. Again, getting into the paint, had that little floater late, then you can send him to the line and he hits free throws. Those two guys just ice the game.
Yeah, Horford's 20-footer doesn't really seem like a big deal when it's missing, but it's such an important release valve because it works perfectly with Jeff Teague, because when the clock is running down, that's kind of their go-to play. They'll run that 1-5 pick and roll, and if you help off Jeff Teague, you stick to Jeff Teague, and then Al Horford's there for the jumper. He was 3 for 5 last night on jumpers, 2 for 15 in the previous 4 games. It's easy to score when your big man's hitting shots.
You saw the Deron Williams game in Game 4, and you wonder if Jeff Teague felt, listen, look, I've got to go out there and carry my team. Because one thing about the Hawks, the one criticism has been, do they have that superstar who could take over in the playoffs? And it's almost like they're a little too unselfish at times. You want a guy to say, I'm going to go out there and get a basket.
Well, that's what Teague did right here.
Exactly, yeah. And that was what he needs to be a little bit more like, I think. Just be a bit more aggressive, because he's very quick, he's got good handles, and he can get into the paint. So he should do that. And, you know, when his team needs a basket, he can go and get one.
Yeah, he scored 6 points there in that sort of 10-2 run to end the game. And we show you the free throws, because I think that's really important always with a guy.
They are very important.
I know you love free throws, but when it is a close game and they're obviously going to send you there because that's the only chance they can, like the Brooklyn Nets, to hopefully get back into it. Hopefully you just miss free throws and they can hit a 3. He knocks them down with great consistency in the fourth quarter.
In Game 4, he missed 3 big ones.
Yeah, that's right.
So now he gets back to the line. He gets on Redemption Island almost to get there and knock in some free throws.
Sure, I haven't seen that episode of that season of Survivor. Thank you. But what do you think about this series now? Can the Hawks take care of business in Brooklyn and finish this series in 6, or do you feel like we're getting to Game 7 and Zaza Pachulia, we can play the we're going to Game 7, baby!
I don't think it's a lock that the Hawks finish off the Nets. They haven't proven that they're great on the road in this series. I mean, I do feel like, yes, Teague and Horford are sort of alive, and they were alive in front of their home crowd. But that doesn't mean they're going to do it on the road.
I do think that the series will be over. I think that the only reason the Nets took 2 games is because we saw a random throwback Deron Williams game. How often can you actually rely on that to come around? Maybe once a year, and I think we kind of already got that one.
I think it's important for the Hawks to close it out in 6, just to show that they are now back on track.
Win on the road.
Yeah,
too,
exactly. Yeah, because they've come into this season, into the playoffs with that top seed, and everyone's thought, was this like maybe a little bit of a fool's gold? But no, if they go out and they wrap this up in 6, then they start at home against Washington on Sunday. I think it's important that they finish it off.
How much money is DeMarre Carroll making himself this postseason? He's been great. Yeah, I mean, unrestricted free agent going into the summer. Another great game from this guy.
Yeah, we talk about the stars, but DeMarre Carroll was the one who got them the lead.
Yeah.
I mean, shooting non-DeMarre Carroll-like shots. I mean, just whenever he wanted, being able to come off screens like this shot off balance DeMarre Carroll. Kind of odd. But yes, he's definitely making himself some bucks. This was the DeMarre Carroll versus Alan Anderson battle for a good period of time.
I want to see.
That's what the people paid to see.
I didn't expect that. And then Jarrett Jack, once again, he's been pretty good this entire series as well. I know there was the Darren game where he went for 35. But the thing with Jarrett Jack is there are great moments, and then there are also some boneheaded plays.
Yeah, he had it going Jarrett Jack style, just throwing up random floaters, shooting the mid-range jumper. And when it's dropping, it's really, really nice because it's a nice way to find random offense, just hitting jumpers in the middle of the lane that nobody else is really going to take. But it definitely turned towards the end of the game.
It's easy to see why he's so frustrating for Nets fans, because he does have those really good performances where he hits the big moments, the big shots, and then he just comes down and just sometimes loses the ball, loses possession so easily, and it's just so maddening because you want it in his hands if he's hit that big shot, but then he can just lose it for you just as quickly.
And that's what the Nets are, right? It just feels like when they need to get it going, hey, we're going to play some isolation basketball. Jarrett Jack, you step up. Alan Anderson, you step up. Darren Williams, you step up.
Right.
Brooke, you step up. While obviously the Hawks feel like a little bit more of a cohesive unit.
I'm still trying to figure out why Kyle Korver can't shoot in Brooklyn. I have a theory that it's the lights, because they do that sort of Lakers effect where the crowd is completely blacked out. It's really dark. This man is a guy that goes through like 20 motions when he's talking about his mechanics.
Yeah.
Maybe something like the lighting could sort of screw him up, because he hasn't been good in Brooklyn in this series.
People talk about that sometimes. Yeah, I mean, but sometimes people just have their arenas where they just feel better in, and maybe that's just one.
Maybe it's the acoustics in the building.
No.
No? It's not? Okay. Well, you're usually talking about that. We got to take a break. When we come back, another playoff edition of the Meme Team, Bomber style. Welcome back to the Starters. Every week, we scour the internet to bring you the Meme Team, so it's another playoff edition. Let's get to it.
At number 5, Ballmer style. Steve Ballmer, the best owner in the league. Move over, Mark Cuban.
Nobody is more excited for anything than Steve Ballmer is right now.
Or
It's great.
petrified. I mean,
Yeah, all emotions.
What happens when the Clippers win the championship?
Let's win it.
give that man the mic.
Fist bumps all around when they win
Right,
the
right.
championship.
Missed fist bumps all around.
Work on that. All right, number 4 in the Meme Team. It's Sir Charles. Interesting bird impersonation.
Dainty looking bird.
Yeah, Ernie described it best. It was more pterodactyl
Yeah, right.
than any sort of hawk. What's he doing?
Great stuff. At number 3, Benny the Bull, Bulls mascot, wearing a GoPro camera, getting some fantastic footage, getting in on the huddle. Great stuff.
Cruising.
Doing mascot type things, playing some rock, paper,
I would
scissors.
watch.
This is great.
I
This
mean,
is great.
I would watch they should put the GoPro on every single mascot. And you could watch it online.
See what they're up to.
Number
Fancy
2,
overtime.
ex-NBA player and current kickboxer Darko Milicic. Hanging out with some friends, shirtless, of course. Having a beer, feeding his tattoos some beer.
This
I like
is
how
glorious.
carefully he pours it, like it's really going in.
That is great stuff. And at number 1, seal it with a kiss. Anderson Varejao, Neiman Number. Hey, hey.
There's a lot of hair in there, too.
Oh, man, yeah.
So there it is, playoff edition of the Meme Team. We have another award that was handed out today. Andrew Wiggins is the NBA Rookie of the Year. Got the award this afternoon. Looking sharp.
Very sharp.
Wiggins always does.
There's that smile.
That golden dollar smile. You're right. Golden
$million?
dollar smile. I think it's $1 million smile. But the voting breakdown, he sort of ran away with the Rookie of the Year here. 110 first place votes for Wiggins. Nikola Mirotic had 14 first place votes. He was coming in second. And then you see Nerlens Noel and Elfrid Payton both getting a couple first place votes, usually from the hometown beat writers in both of those situations. But again, Andrew Wiggins running away with it. 604 total points, nearly doubling up Mirotic. And, usually when it comes down to Rookie of the Year, it's who scored the most, or at least who, when you combine points and rebounds and assists, who had the most. And they keep it fairly simple for the most part.
Yeah, but he also played 36 minutes a game. He also played 82 games, which is really, really impressive for a rookie. By all standards, he was the best rookie. I know he didn't play on a winning team, and that's where Nikola Mirotic definitely garnered some votes.
It's never mattered.
It's never mattered, but, he's playing in, Nikola Mirotic is playing in key situations for a playoff team, but I think you can throw that aside. He's less efficient than Wiggins. He plays a ton less than Wiggins. So I don't see it. I don't see how you vote for him.
He actually became, too, because he started the year when he was 19 years old. He's only 20, which is pretty wild. But he became one of the youngest players in NBA history to just score a lot of points. You see the list, you know, Melo, 21, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, then Andrew Wiggins averaging 16.9 points per game. The now 5th, or at least 5th in terms of scoring the bucket, or putting the ball in the bucket for young guys, 19 or younger when starting the season.
And he got to the line, which I love for a kid. 5 free throws a game.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure when you're the #1 pick, and he lived pretty much up to it, I thought, for a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves who are going through a lot of changes. I think if you're Flip Saunders, you're very, very happy with what you've got there for the next few years.
Oh, man, yeah. He played the 2nd most minutes in the league, trailing only Jimmy Butler. And like Tess is saying, he got to the line a ton. As his usage increased, he stayed pretty efficient. He just looked like a future star, which I think is kind of what else you're looking for in a Rookie of the Year, a guy that's projecting to be good, who actually looks good.
Yeah, and that's where you wonder if some of the voters lean towards that.
Yeah, sure.
Mirotic, a great year. You said instrumental in their success, especially getting the wins with the Bulls. But do they think a little bit like, yeah, Wiggins sort of looks like he's going to be, you know, a future multiple-time All-Star, a star in this league, and you wonder if you lean that way.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you? I mean, you know, like you have to reward the guys who do play, but when you have a guy who's got that real star ability to do that, I mean, he deserves it, and I think it's a fair reflection of the season that he's had.
In the end, we all had him in the starters.
Yes.
That's correct, Andrew Wiggins. Let's hear what people think. Mirotic, Nerlens Noel, Peyton, or are you agree with Wiggins taking home the hardware? Let us know on Twitter. One more break. When we come back, Lee's very solid play. Oh, you were there in person.
Yeah,
That's you in the background.
Back with the starters. Lely's taking us down to the Fortress for the very solid play of the night.
You bet I am, and it comes from the very first play of the game from the Atlanta Hawks here. Beautiful ball movement, everyone gets involved, and Al Horford finishes with a nice little, I think that's a dinker, or is that a dumper there, Tassie?
Oh, I don't know. You can call it both, I think.
Yeah, it's both. But
No, that's
anyway,
a
whatever it
good
is, that's what I call a very solid play.
Beauty.
You
Excellent
bet
stuff.
it is.
Excellent stuff. All right, we have some news, more news today. We talked about Wiggins winning Rookie of the Year. Well, it is official that the Oklahoma City Thunder have named Billy Donovan as their new head coach after 19 years, 2 national titles at Florida. He has signed a multi-year deal to take over OKC. So here you go. You know, Scott Brooks fired. We thought Sam Presti had a guy in mind that he wanted to make a move quickly, and he did. And there's Billy Donovan himself there.
Rocking like Scott Brooks.
Rocking the short shorts. He does look a little like Scott Brooks there in his playing days. But yeah, now he's got to help convince Kevin Durant to sign a long-term extension, try and take this talented roster to a championship. We're going to talk about the Billy Donovan move and the OKC hiring him much more on tomorrow's podcast. It's called The Drop. It's up on iTunes. It's up on the blog early in the morning, so check that out as we break down all of the playoffs and that news. Tonight, though.
But first.
Yeah, we got some games tonight. Bulls and Bucks. Game 6 in Milwaukee. Can the Bucks extend this bad boy to 7 after being down 3-0? Not a lot of teams have ever even forced a Game 7, so they're trying for some history there tonight. And then Game 6, Clippers, Spurs. Spurs trying to close out this series, and it starts at 9:30 Eastern time. I know the East Coast
so
likes
excited.
that. Well, there's a lot of free throws,
loves
and it
that.
takes a while. So we'll be back here tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, very loud noises, like a ship passing, for instance, can really ruin the mood.
Race tonight, people.